New Lifers. We're in week 2 of Parenting 101, and I'd like to use today's conversation to talk about something we don't always talk about when we talk about parenting. I want to talk about ourselves as children. Not all of us are parents, but all of us have parents. I want to talk about what we should do if our parents don't support our faith. This question is usually predicated by the understanding that we should honor our father and mother. But how do we honor our father and mother if they don't approve of our faith, especially if they strongly espouse a different belief? And I'm one who believes a little radically about the command to honor your father and mother. This is the first command with a promise associated with it. If you honor your father and mother, you will live a long life. Exodus 20:12 says, "Honor your father and mother, then you will live a long, full life in the land the Lord your God is giving you." This is kind of like a proverb mixed into a law. You should honor your father and mother, and if you do, you will be blessed. So my whole life, I've looked for excuses to listen to the advice of my parents. We don't always agree on everything, and sometimes I don't think that what they're telling me to do is the best idea, but I do everything I possibly can to follow the advice of my parents, even when it seems a little illogical to me. But that's easy for me to say because I have Christian parents. And this is one of those Old Covenant, Old Testament commands that carried into the New Covenant. Ephesians 6:3 says, "If you honor your father and mother, things will go well for you, and you will have a long life on the earth." And this is an ironic statement because Paul told the church in Ephesus to obey their moms and dads. But Jesus told his followers to hate their moms and dads. Luke 14:26 says, "If you want to be my disciple, you must, by comparison, hate everyone else, your father and mother, wife and children, brother and sisters, yes, even your own life. Otherwise, you cannot be my disciple." Now, Jesus was obviously using a little bit of hyperbole here. But the point that he's making is your relationship with your family can't come before your relationship with God. I'm your God now, he's saying. What I say always comes first. But if you can, you should listen to your father and mother. And you shouldn't just listen to them because they've lived longer than you. They're likely wiser than you, yes, but you should obey them because I will bless you if you do. So how do you honor your father and mother even if they aren't Christians? Well, let me give you 3 ways Christians should respond to their non-Christian parents. Number 1, love unconditionally. Show them that your love for them is not dependent on their actions or even their beliefs. Show God to them by showing them that God taught you how to love. Number 2, live with integrity. They're not going to listen to you telling them about your God if your God hasn't made you a better person. Usually people have to leave their home because they gain respect from people because as long as you live in the place of your youth, people usually always see you as the person you were when you were young. This is especially hard with your parents. They will always be tempted to see you as their little children, who they had to teach how to poop on a toilet. And number 3, listen intently. One of the primary reasons most people won't listen to you is because they feel you haven't listened to them. And while you're listening, look for ways that you can do the things that they tell you to do. Sometimes even if it doesn't seem like the best thing you can do. And you can honor your parents even if you don't take their advice. You can show them respect even when you don't obey them. But that's really hard, especially if you haven't matured past the teenage rebellion stage. For some people, that's hard to do because they just never grew up. But for other people, that's really hard because their parents really mistreated them. Some of you have really good reason to resist and even hate your parents, but isn't the best opportunity to show them that God has changed you by loving them? Isn't forgiving them for something that they don't deserve to be forgiven for the best way to show them the grace and unconditional love of Jesus? So stop here and answer the first 3 questions and then push play. If a Christian has a parent who is religious, who has strongly held beliefs, this conversation even gets more difficult. If your parents are Muslim, Hindus, Buddhists, or even atheists, they don't just disagree with you. They think the very fact that you believe what you believe is damaging, or at least dangerous. They don't just disagree with you, they're hostile toward your faith. And if you leave some religions, you may even be in danger because they believe you disgraced the family by leaving their faith. In that case, Luke 14:26 absolutely comes into play. In that case, your faith in God has to come before your relationship with your family. But still, that doesn't mean you have an excuse not to honor your parents. I have never heard of a story of someone going off to church camp, getting saved, then coming home and screaming at his parent, "Repent, you sinners!" and lead their parents to Christ. That's just not how it's done. I have, however, heard stories of Christians who have sat down with their parents to compare the claims of Islam, the claims of Christianity, and the claims of other religions, and then eventually leading them to Christ. I have heard of people from all different religions comparing truth claims and choosing to follow Christ. But that's not going to happen if we don't love unconditionally and live with integrity and listen intently. And if someone doesn't want you to ask questions, to seek truth, it's because they don't have good answers to the questions. And that should be a signal. If they don't want to seek truth with you, double down on setting an example, because the reason they don't want to talk is because they realize they're on the wrong side of the argument. So just keep loving them. And if they do want to talk to them. If something is true, no amount of scrutiny can disprove it. I'll say that again. If something is true, no amount of scrutiny can disprove it. Talk to them in an honorable and humble way, and let God speak to them. Stop here, answer the last 3 questions, and I'll see you Sunday in church.